welcome everybody for our next Huddle series on unified insights across your CI/CD pipelines.
Hey, this is Venkat. I'm from Opsera, and most of the time I spend time in the analytics space, where you have like in the DevOps toolchain and automation, different tools incoming on the board. And once the tools have been adopted by the companies, my main objective is to see what kind of analytics and KPIs and metrics that we can bring onto the board in Opsera and expose them at the enterprise level, that large enterprise customers can leverage and see what's going on the toolchain automation within Opsera. That's my main objective.
Shrey?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Shrey. I'm also with Opsera. I work primarily on the pipelines and the analytics side. So as Venkat said, I work alongside Venkat and Tejas on analytics and KPIs, and also onboarding new tools onto our pipeline engine, and just configuring the logs and orchestration endpoints for all.
Hi guys, I'm Tejas. So I'm also an engineer working for Opsera on the analytics side. So my work is primarily focused on the development for the process of collecting data and displaying that data in KPIs. So people can get value from the charts that we're creating.
Got it. Thanks, guys. A quick introduction about Opsera. Opsera is a DevOps orchestration platform. We bring all your DevOps tools in one place. We automate and provision all your tools in one place and help you create no-code pipelines, drag and drop pipelines, and integrate security and quality gates, and also get visibility across all your tools in one place, which is the main focus of today's discussion. Like, how do you get unified insights and what kind of metrics are important? Let me take the first question here. What are the types of KPIs you guys collect?
Yeah, let me take that one. This is Venkat. So, from an Opsera standpoint, when it comes to the, the tool chain automation, the deployments, all that, I think what Opsera does it at a grand scale of, what it takes from the engineer who's touching the lowest code base, all the way from the executive leadership, and how do we connect all the dots, not just from the technical details about it, but what's the story behind it? What's the connections between that executive level conversation that's happening and what it means for the developer. The large intent is to see how we can connect those, and from the way that when we look at the different tools and technologies, what we have it. Our first goal is whether this tool is being used by large enterprise organization or not, or is it only for one small customer that we are looking at it. And of course, our larger interest will be to see how we can leverage this and convert this into kind of a story-based KPI and metrics that would help other customers as well. So in a nutshell, when a tool comes on board, we look across all the metrics that what's available, and then we try to connect the dots. For example, if you bring in a tool from a development space, a brand new tool, and what we do is we just don't bring the KPIs and metrics only for that specific tool, but we connect the dots across the other categories like your development, source code, planning, operations, everything, and then we expose those metrics and see how we can connect and link it in a way that you just don't look at the data, but look at the whole story, what's happening, what's happening in the system standpoint, from a resource standpoint, what's happening with the people, right? Those are the things that we keep in mind, when we try to expose a KPI or a metric to the customers. And at the high level, we have multiple categories, as you can imagine. It starts from the planning, and once you have the plannings, with the classical traditional sprint or waterfall methodologies, whatever you have it, you just take the intake of user stories and then convert them to requirements, and then hand over the development. And once the dev is converted, the quality and operations, right? But if you look at the span of all this, we cover all the the KPIs that you can imagine, plus the operations and the system metrics as well, which I can show you now. When we have the opportunity for a demo, I can show you what kind of KPIs and metrics we do it. But to answer your question, it spans across right from the planning and all the way till the monitoring and operations. We cover all the KPIs and metrics, including the logs. Did that answer question, Sushmita?
Yeah, thank you. If anybody else wants to fill in and know any other details.
Yeah, so I think Venkat covered it in good detail. I just want to emphasize what he described about the story aspect of it. So that's very important because pretty much anytime you're working with data, it's very easy to get mired into like the tiny, minuscule details. So being able to take, and especially with the DevOps, actually, there's so much, it can sprawl across so many different tools and applications that it gets very complex very quickly. So being able to take the data and extract them to a more abstract layer where you're able to say, okay, this is the data I'm receiving and this is what it means to me. I think that's a very important part and a driving aspect of what analytics for DevOps is going to look like.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, one thing that we try to do, along with collecting data is basically categorizing the data before the KPIs even come into the picture. And how that helps is that, then when you're looking at the KPIs, you get a slice of the data that's relevant to you than a KPI with like a lot of data. Because in that case, yes, it's giving you insight, but is the insight relevant to you? So I think that's very important too.
How does it help in troubleshooting?
So let me start with that. Probably after that, Shrey and Tejas can chime in. So from a developer standpoint, how it helps is, the main thing is, if you're working in a one tool, let's say your space is only on the Java skill set, and you're working only on the Java code base. Then you can just do a troubleshooting in a kind of where you focused on your Java code base and you try to troubleshoot it. But think about it from in a real scenario, it doesn't look like it. The code doesn't break just because there is the issue might be only within that specific code base, right? The issue can be anywhere, right from the planning all the way till the monitoring operations and system and resource. It can be anywhere the bottleneck is. And one of the value point that what Opsera tries to bring in is we just make it easy. We don't I don't say that it's the problem is solved. The question is how fast I can provide you the visibility in a way that it eases you and makes you that where you can look for it. For example, if the issue is happening, whether at the security scan of it, whether it is a quality step of it, or whether it is from a performance, usage standpoint, CPU usage standpoint. So what Opsera brings it, it gives you all that tools and the expose and visibility of what's happening or what happened. Between that, when you try to implement or deploy anything during the full events. I think that's what Opsera we are trying to go towards, is expose that unlimited events that happen at the system level and at the same time at the people level. What happened, and we expose that in a kind of a blueprints and logs. But that will ease you of nailing it down where the issue is. In that way, if you're unable to solve it, you can take that pretty much that format and you can hand it over to another person, can look at it from his perspective. And again, if he's unable to, you can bring in all the teams together where you have the grand view, and then individually, people can check it at their technical space, where the issue is. And that's what we try to bring in together. So that way, you don't have to hustle around in trying to working in a silo mode and figuring it out, hey, if this has happened or if that happens. I think Opsera intent is to, bring in all the views together in a way, not just from a people standpoint, but what are the data points that's available and how easy that we can make it, available for our customers. That's what, we bring in everything to one single dashboard where you can, look and see what's going on.
Yeah, visibility sounds like the right word, right? Being able to display to consumers immediately or as efficiently as possible, what the issue is, and kind of tying that back into what Shrey was talking about with the categorizing the data. That's going to be very important as well as part of visibility, because like you mentioned, Venkat, there's so many different ways that something can go wrong. It can be in the security, it can be in the quality. So having visibility to see, which particular dimension of your release there's been an issue with, that being able to see where things are going wrong is very, very important. And then one other aspect would be action afterwards. So once you're able to visibly see what the issue is there an efficient way to really start taking action on that problem? So having that type of like actionable insights in which you can see, okay, this is the problem, and now these are the steps I can take to resolve this issue. I think that's a key part of it as well.
Yeah, and I think Tejas was mentioning about the logs having a story. So like we have something known as the blueprint that tells you logs throughout each step of your pipeline. And we also cover it from the start when it comes to source control metrics. So as a developer doing a deployment and then moving to a release, you can see through the logs where things went wrong. So like you can see if there was a vulnerability when your code was being scanned, or was there a performance issue when your code was being tested, and so on and so forth. So you have a sequential like step of events that happen. So you can go sequentially, or you can just basically, you're not digging in the dark because the logs are sequenced, and that helps with the KPIs.
I have a question. What tools do you integrate, and how long does it take to integrate?
So from a tool standpoint, right, before there is a new tool, the main advantage of Opsera is, we handle it two flavors. One, you can bring in your own in-house tools, as well as, if it's an open source available at the enterprise level, we can bring it that as well. And, from an integration standpoint, we deliver both possible solutions, right? And what are the tools that we're talking about? Sure, all the OpenStack tool like Git, Jira, SonarKit, any kind of a security and that's tools are being used at the enterprise level. We cover most part for all the in the life cycle. It can be guaranteed that we handle most of the tools that you'll be using or looking at the enterprise level. And plus, you can bring in your own tools as well. If specifically for your in-house and you try to leverage it, definitely, that is also possible. Now, the second question, what you asked is how much time it's going to take. It depends on the use case. As you know that, certain tools that, it's very specifically, some tools there, customers have customized it, for their own purpose, right? Even if it's at the enterprise level, but some, the tool, which is like an OpenStack, still they have it at the nose, they customize it for their own needs. And when you try to bring in, that kind of a customize, what we check it, whether is it at the part of the equivalent of the, what is available at the open source of the stack, which is available outside. If it's specifically customized for you, then we take a kind of a use case by use case to see how it's being used by you at the customer level, and then we bring in that way we can tailor the solution just for your company, for your customer base and for your developers alone.
You mentioned different dashboards like planning, security, and quality. So what are some KPIs you collect under quality?
So with quality, I think one thing that we try and do is that for a particular pipeline run, right, we want to show how many of their test cases are, passing and failing, and, the percentage of that. But also, we want to capture if some of these test cases aren't really being executed. So one thing we've seen before actually was that a customer we were working with, they ran their pipeline with thousands of test cases, and it turns out that one of them was actually not being executed. So one of their tests was not being executed as they were running their pipelines. It was a flaky test case. So being able to provide that type of visibility as well, so that customers can see not only what their test cases are passing and failing, but also which ones are being executed consistently. I think that's an important part of it as well, so that they can see that whatever tests they've written are being executed each time.
And just to add to it, Sushmita, so to the other question you asked, what are the different tools, right? You can bring in any kind of a quality tools that you can have it. For example, Cypress, a JUnit or XUnit. You can have this mix and match of different tools because each tools have a specific objective to be met, like from a security standpoint or for performance or anything. You can bring in all those test tools, and we bring into one view of where you can view all the the test results, as Tejas said, which is passed, failed, and breaking down into the KPI. So exactly, we are not talking when we say quality is about one tool, but it's a span of different tools that's being used in your organization.
Got it. Thank you all for joining.